And welcome to another exciting edition of Cornette's Commentary right here on Who's Slamming Who. This is Tommy Fierro, joined by Jim Cornette. Jimmy is just coming back from a trip to Canada, huh, Jimmy?
Oh, hey, I came back quickly, yes. Tommy, I want you to verify that we have not spoken yet over the weekend, so you do not know the tale of foreign intrigue and drama that I'm about to tell here on Cornette's Commentary.
I don't, but I can't wait to hear it.
It is your first-hand experience in hearing this because, we talked last week about, I was going up to Canada for the big Ring of Honor show. We were going to make a trip out of it, Stacy and I, do about a 5-day vacation. The Sports Card Expo was there. Lots of great things happening in Toronto, right?
Yes, sir.
We went in June, and I believe we did a commentary coming back from the Richards and Tyler Black match where I spoke so highly of our stay in the lovely metropolis of Toronto or Mississauga and how much I enjoyed their grocery stores. You remember me speaking about that.
Yep.
And Tommy, once again, I was just like a travel agent for the country of Canada. Just enjoyed myself. Spreading the word, the greatness of Canada all over. I sound like Kenny Bolin now, but anyway, to get to the point. So this time we go up there, and we're going to go for the weekend, and as I said, stay a few extra days and spend some money in that fine country on lodging and restaurants and things of the such. And so we get to Detroit, and I should have known something was wrong when the ramp to the bridge was actually closed. We got lost in downtown Detroit for 20 minutes. But then we get to the border there. They've got a fine tunnel under the river. My claustrophobia kicked in. And we come up to the gate, and just much as we did in June when we went to Toronto, they ask you questions like, who are you, how do you know each other, where are you coming from, where are you going, perfectly innocent questions. And we have our valid U.S. passports, and I always answer truthfully, Tommy. And, I must digress. I've been told in the past that by everybody in the wrestling business going back to WCW, WWF, Ring of Honor, anybody I've known in wrestling in Canada, they'll hassle you. They will stop you. They'll question you. They'll rifle through your shit. They'll search you. They'll make you fill out papers. They'll give you a hard time. If you've got an arrest record, they'll make you fill out papers and pay money. All these horror stories, right?
Uh-huh.
And I've been to Canada, not excessively, but I'd say about 15 times in the last 20 years for, all the various companies, and never had a problem. Because after all, Tommy, do I look like Osama bin Laden or, Abdul al-Akbar? Do I look like I'm going to spread terrorism around the world? But anyway, so the one thing that I do not mention on advice of everybody I've ever known who's gone to Canada, don't tell them you're in the wrestling business. So I do not lie, but in the interest of full disclosure, I do tell them I'm in television production, which at my advanced age and limited work schedule these days, I am. So they don't know I'm a wrestling guy. They don't know me from the typical American middle-aged tourist from Kentucky and his lovely wife visiting their country. We pull up to the gate. I'm in an SUV registered in my name, brand new, with the aforesaid documentation from the United States federal government that I am who I present myself to be. And they question us and tell us, check in with immigration. Well, that sounds like a reasonably pleasant procedure where perhaps they'll say, hello, welcome to Canada. We'll be immigrating you today. But no. You go around the corner and all of a sudden you're in a chain link fence gate, sort of like a holding area in a jail yard, where you pull up to the first available space and these two jacked up guys in, Tommy, you should have seen these uniforms. I mean, this wasn't Andy and Mayberry type of thing. No, they had guns, they had flashlights, they had batons, they had cuffs, they had radios. I don't know how they were walking, they were carrying so much shit. And they come out and they ask us the same questions they asked us at the gate. Who are you? How do you know each other? Where are you going? How long are you going to be there? And where are you staying? All of which we've already answered and actually have documentation to prove.
Sure.
Then they say, we'll be searching your vehicle today. Oh, well, thank you for that service. I've been having it searched for quite some time now. So we put the keys and our passports and my wallet up on the hood of the car like it's a traffic stop, right, on cops. And they open all the doors, they shine the flashlight in the console, And they look in the glove compartment and they rifle through our toiletry bags. Now, bear in mind, they don't open the ones they can't reach without climbing in. They're not going to put that much effort into it.
Jimmy, real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm visualing, while you're telling me this story, I'm visualing just how hot and boiled up you are at this point.
Oh, I'm vibrating, but I haven't said anything. I'm not going to be impolite to these motherfuckers with guns in a foreign country. But I'm vibrating. And so anyway...
Vibrating.
So now they get in my toiletry bag, and of course, and they hold my blood pressure medicine up to the light and shake it. They get in the cooler. The cooler fascinates them because I got 2 cases of Sprite Zero and a dozen hard-boiled eggs in the cooler. Obviously, there's something that can be made. You know, one of those internet bombs can be made from 2 cases of Sprite Zero and a dozen hard-boiled eggs.
That is a weird thing to have in your car, though.
But anyway, so they look around in my vehicle. I don't have any weapons, any drugs, any alcohol. They've poked around. I could have had a brick of Mexican black tar heroin in the bags they didn't open, but I didn't. But they didn't put that much effort. It was just like, we're going to flummox through your stuff and paw through everything out here in public just because we can. And there's a woman next to us in a little bitty SUV that's like, I don't know if she's 60, but she's closing in on it, and they're pawing through her shit. Grandma Bin Laden. I don't know, anyway.
Grandma Bin Laden.
So now, okay, after they finish and satisfy themselves that I'm not going to blow the country up, then, all right, thank you very much, guys. Yes, go right in there. Now we got to go somewhere else. Now we have to go in the police station. So we're middle-aged tourist and his wife from Louisville, Kentucky, driving our own vehicle with valid U.S. passports that they have satisfied themselves that except if we're the dreaded hard-boiled egg bombers, we have no contraband in the vehicle. Now we got to go in the office. So we go up to the desk of this woman, and I swear to God, humorless is not the description. It's a bit of an understatement. She looked like one of those faces on the Twilight Zone Eye of the Beholder episode, the alien faces when Donna Douglas wakes up. Maybe I've gone over the top of the room with that reference. But she ain't going to have a laugh today. She's once again the same questions. And we answer them again. Let me see your papers. It's like, here, give me your passport. Sit there. So we're sitting on a bench. There's a dozen uniformed officers scurrying around doing whatever the fuck it is they're doing. And we're there for 15 minutes. She's running us. And I'm thinking, if they've already treated us like this, they don't know who the fuck I am. When they punch me up in the internet, they probably ain't going to like me any better. And son of a gun, when she came over and said, can I see you in the other room? So I go in there, and her opening line is, so you've had some issues with the law? I can't do the Canadian accent, but you get the picture. Well, ever, yes. As a matter of fact, some of the better ones are documented in my book, The Midnight Express and Jim Cornette's Scrapbook, available at jimcornette.com. But I digress. She opened up with 1984, and I'm like, oh, fuck, 26 years ago. They had shit on, obviously, my various forms of assault. She mentioned 1986. She asked now I bring up the pro wrestling card. I used to be a bad guy. We had scuffles with fans, but I don't think that computed with her. So I have a variety of these assaults over the years. And anyway, once she got to about 4 or 5, I tapped out because now I'm thinking, okay, somehow there's going to be some money paid here because, no, but seriously, I have talked to people that have had assault charges on their record, and they have filled out paperwork and paid money and gone to Canada. I've talked to people personally in the wrestling business over the years that have had DUIs on their record. They've paid money. They've gone to Canada. I've talked to people who have had drug charges on their record. They have paid money and somehow filled out forms and gone to Canada. I know people for a fact. I have seen them in the country of Canada that have served time in prison. Tommy, they have an Al-Qaeda fucking cell in Canada. Somehow they have gotten into Canada. But Jim Cornette, they will not let in Canada. I said, is there a fee to be paid here or a form we can fill out or something that we get temporary thing? We're in the middle of a trip. No, you got to go.
Oh, my God.
And now they have to fill out a form to let me go. will allow you to, this is the gall of these Canadian people, which we'll discuss later in the second half of this commentary. But they said, we're going to allow you to withdraw your application to Canada and return to the United States. What were they going to make me, Tom Hanks or whoever in that fucking movie? I had to live in the airport? What choice did they have? It's the only other place I could go. So we got to sit there, and she fills out a deal and has me sign it that I'm not going to try to come back until they invite me. Once again, the gall of these people, Tommy, before we ever even had a record, before we were anybody other than, as Ole Anderson used to say, Mr. and Mrs. Dumbfuck from Topeka, Kansas, going to Toronto for their weekend vacation with valid papers in their own vehicle with no contraband, and they'd still interrogated us 3 times and pawed through our shit before they even got madder at us. Is that the way they treat the typical American tourist? Is there something wrong with the system? That's why, Tommy, after this experience, and once again, bear in mind, I have never been sentenced to a day in jail, Tommy. I've been convicted of a few things, but most of them were very minor by the time we got finished with it. The point is, I have no active warrants, haven't even had a speeding ticket in over 5 years. Is this the typical American tourist? We're not good enough to come over there? But, Tommy, when you think, at first I thought, maybe a fuck you of the week to the Canadian Prime Minister. But then I couldn't find out who the Canadian Prime Minister was. I asked a bunch of boys in the locker room, none of them knew. I asked a kid that actually just moved here from Canada about 6 weeks ago, and he couldn't remember. And so I'm thinking that you could go to the Super Bowl, and everybody in the world knows who President of the United States is, but you go to the Super Bowl and you ask who the Canadian Prime Minister is, and you get 5 vendors at the beer stand. So we couldn't find out who he was. So then I'm thinking, why don't we start a campaign, Tommy? Why don't we start a campaign to send emails to Canada saying you're welcome? And you want to know what we're saying you're welcome for, Tommy?
What's that?
Because now here's this country that turns away this middle-aged man from Kentucky and his lovely wife on vacation. But yet, because of the very fact that they are in close proximity geographically to the United States, who fucks with Canada? Isn't the whole reason that Canada has never been invaded or attacked because they're our next-door neighbor, and everybody knows we'd do something about it. You can't get that close to us. We'll fuck with you. Obviously. Especially when Bush was president. So haven't we really protected them all these years, Tommy?
Sure.
And do they ever say thank you?
I don't ever recall them.
Do the border guards that frisked us and gave us everything but an anal probe on our way to our 5-day vacation in their fair city? Did they say thank you, America, for basically being our big brother? If Canada's been in wars, because when somebody else gets in a war, generally America, they'll say, yeah, we're on your side. But has anybody ever attacked Canada and started anything?
I don't believe so.
Because there's nothing to gain. And conversely, has Canada ever attacked anybody in retaliation to anything? No, because nothing's ever happened. Why? Because they're next door to the United States of America. Nobody's going to fuck with them if they want to go that far, as happened on September 11th. They're going to go ahead and fuck with us because Canada's irrelevant. But conversely, nobody's going to fuck with Canada because the United States is sitting here ready to take care of them, Tommy. And I think it's a shame the way they welcome tourists from their big brother country in such a fashion at the border.
Jimmy,
it's terrible.
I just came up with a great new shirt you can sell on JimCornette.com.
What's that?
Canada Screwed Cornette.
You wouldn't you know it? Another Canadian screw job hits the headlines.
Yep. Canada Screwed Cornette. I can see all your loyal fans wearing that shirt right now.
And you know, once again, I think we ought to send in emails to the appropriate government agency saying you're welcome. even though they didn't say thank you for the help we've given them all these years in keeping them safe up there.